What if the biggest advantage Elon Musk has isn't his money? Not Tesla, not SpaceX, not even his intelligence. What if it's the way he sees the world? A way of thinking so different it allowed him to build rockets when experts said it couldn't be done, to bet everything on electric cars when the industry laughed, and to spend his entire fortune chasing ideas that most people thought were impossible. So what exactly goes on inside Elon Musk's mind? Why does he make decisions that almost no one else is willing to make? And more importantly, what can the rest of us learn from the mental framework behind one of the most influential entrepreneurs of our time? Because once you understand how Elon thinks, you may never look at success, work, or even your own future the same way again. Most people spend their lives chasing comfort. Some chase money, others chase status. But Elon Musk believes there's something far more important, a purpose. Not a goal, not a paycheck, a reason to exist. He has often said that when his life comes to an end, he doesn't want to be remembered simply as a billionaire or a famous entrepreneur. What matters most to him is knowing that he helped move humanity forward. Whether people praise him or criticize him isn't the point. The real question is, did he leave the future better than he found it? That single idea shapes almost every decision he makes. Because according to Musk, an ordinary life isn't something you're born into. It's something you choose. You can choose to accept the rules you've inherited, or you can question them. You can choose to follow the crowd, or you can decide to build something the crowd has never imagined. Extraordinary people aren't born with different brains. They simply make different choices. And those choices begin with one simple question. What am I really here to do? Here's something Elon Musk measures more than money, more than fame, more than popularity: usefulness. Every morning he asks himself a simple question: how can I be useful today? Not, how can I become more richer? Not, how can I become more famous? But, how can I create something that genuinely improves people's lives? That shift changes everything. Because it's easy to consume. Anyone can scroll. Anyone can complain. Anyone can criticize. Creating something valuable? That's much harder. Musk believes success is simply a byproduct of usefulness. The more value you create, the more likely success becomes. Of course, that doesn't mean every idea works. He's been wrong many times. He's admitted that himself. But mistakes don't bother him nearly as much as standing still. His goal isn't perfection. His goal is increasing the odds that tomorrow will be better than today. And that raises an important question. When you look at your own life, are you adding more value than you're taking away? The math of impact. Most people think about success emotionally. Elon often thinks about it mathematically. Imagine two numbers. The first, how many people did you help? The second, how much did you improve each person's life? Multiply those together, that's your total impact. It doesn't matter whether you're building software, writing books, teaching students, growing food, or creating entertainment. Every positive contribution counts. Helping 1 million people in a small way can be just as meaningful as changing a few lives forever. The goal isn't necessarily to change the entire world. The goal is to leave it slightly better than you found it. That's what real utility looks like. And once you start thinking this way, you stop asking, how much money can I make? Instead, you begin asking, how much value can I create? That question changes the game. Build something that matters. If you're creating a product, don't start by asking whether it will make money. Ask something far more important. Is it better than what's already out there? Does it solve a real problem? Will someone's life improve because this exists? Sometimes a product transforms millions of lives in a small way. Sometimes it transforms a handful of lives in a massive way. Either path can create enormous value.
Not every invention has to reinvent civilization. Even a simple app, a useful tool, or a better service can improve thousands of lives. The point isn't scale. The point is usefulness. That's the standard Musk holds himself to, and it's the same advice he gives his own children. Follow work that genuinely interests you. Work incredibly hard and aim to give more to the world than you take from it. Because in the end, a useful life is a meaningful life. Fight for the future. But Elon Musk's thinking doesn't stop with helping people today. He's obsessed with something much bigger: the future. He believes the future doesn't simply happen, it has to be built. Every breakthrough, every invention, every discovery exists because someone decided not to wait. Instead, they acted. That belief led Musk to ask a question most college students never think about: which industries could have the greatest impact on humanity's future? Not next year, not the next decade, but the next century. After thinking deeply about it, he identified a handful of areas that could completely reshape civilization: the internet, sustainable energy, space exploration,
Artificial intelligence, and genetic engineering. Some of those technologies he believed could become humanity's greatest achievements. Others could become its greatest risks. But here's what's fascinating. At the time, he never expected to build rockets. He never imagined leading an electric car company. He simply believed those problems were worth solving. Years later, after selling PayPal, he finally had the resources to act. And instead of choosing an easier life, he chose the harder path. Because in his mind, if something is important enough for humanity's future, then someone has to build it. The only question is, who's willing to go first? Obsess over success. Most people think success begins with a brilliant idea. Elon Musk disagrees. To him, success begins with a problem that refuses to leave your mind. A problem so important you can't stop thinking about it, even when everyone tells you to move on. Because the companies Musk built were never about becoming the richest man in the world. They were about building things he believed the world desperately needed. And that distinction changes everything. Don't chase money, chase necessity. When people dream about starting a company, they usually imagine freedom, financial independence, recognition, maybe even becoming the next billionaire. But Musk believes that's the wrong place to start. Don't ask, how can I become an entrepreneur? Ask, what should exist in the world that doesn't exist today? That's how Tesla started. That's how SpaceX started. That's how nearly every company Musk has built began. Not with market research, not with trends, not with investor demand, but with a simple belief: this needs to exist. He never optimized for the safest investment. He optimized for the biggest contribution. And if that meant losing everything, so be it. Because to him, failing while trying to solve an important problem is better than succeeding at something meaningless.
the sweet spot of great work.
Here's something most career advice gets wrong. Being talented isn't enough. Being passionate isn't enough either. Real fulfillment happens where those two things overlap: the work you're naturally good at and the work you genuinely love doing. Find that intersection, and work stops feeling like an obligation. It becomes an obsession. Musk believes that's exactly where extraordinary companies are born, not from chasing opportunity, but from chasing curiosity. Because when you truly care about what you're building, you don't stop thinking about it after work. Your brain keeps solving problems while you're driving, while you're eating, even while you're trying to sleep. That's when ideas evolve. That's when innovation happens. Why great products win. People often think companies succeed because of great marketing or massive advertising budgets, but Musk sees it differently. In the long run, the product always wins. You can fool customers once, maybe twice, but eventually reality catches up. That's why he's obsessed with quality, not because perfection is easy, but because people remember products that genuinely improve their lives. Every small improvement matters. Every design choice matters. Every detail matters. Because excellence isn't created by one big breakthrough. It's created by thousands of small decisions that nobody else notices. While everyone else is asking, how fast can we launch? Musk keeps asking, how can we make this better?
Pain is part of the process. Success has a price, and most people quit the moment they see the bill. Musk doesn't. He expects pain. He expects failure. He expects people to doubt him, because creating something new has never been comfortable. If your mission matters enough, the struggle becomes part of the journey. He once explained his mindset in a surprisingly simple way. Make sure you genuinely care about what you're building. Then learn to tolerate the pain that comes with it. Because meaningful work isn't supposed to be easy. If it were, everyone would do it. Start before the world is ready. Here's one of the biggest mistakes entrepreneurs make. They wait. They wait for the perfect idea, the perfect timing, the perfect market, the perfect economy. But history tells a different story. When television first appeared, most Americans believed they'd never own one. When the automobile was introduced, many argued horses would always be more practical. And when Tesla launched its first electric cars, almost nobody was asking for one. Customers didn't know they wanted electric vehicles because they'd never imagined them. That's the challenge with real innovation. People can't ask for something they've never seen. If you're building something radically new, expect confusion, expect criticism, expect disbelief. Not because your idea is wrong, but because you're showing people a future they haven't learned to recognize yet. Belief before proof. In the beginning, very few people believed in SpaceX. Almost nobody believed Tesla could survive. Investors were skeptical, experts laughed, competitors dismissed them. But belief doesn't arrive all at once. It grows with evidence. Every successful launch, every improved product, every impossible milestone. Slowly, doubt begins turning into curiosity. Curiosity becomes confidence, and confidence becomes momentum. That's why Musk says something most people don't want to hear. If you need constant encouragement, starting a company probably isn't for you, because for a long time, you'll be the only one who believes.
Create more than you consume. Most people measure wealth by what they own. Musk measures it by what they create. Think about the economy for a moment. Some people see it like a fixed pie. If someone else gets a bigger slice, they assume theirs must become smaller. But history tells a different story. The world's economy has expanded dramatically over time. New industries were created, new technologies appeared, new opportunities emerged. The pie didn't stay the same, it grew. That's why Musk warns against what he calls a scarcity mindset. When people believe success is limited, they start competing to take value away from others. But when they believe value can be created, everything changes. Instead of asking, how do I win? They ask, how do we create something that didn't exist yesterday? That's how societies move forward. That's how businesses grow. And that's how real wealth is built. The obsession that changes everything. If there is one personality trait that defines Elon Musk, it isn't intelligence, it isn't confidence, it's obsession. An obsession with solving meaningful problems, an obsession with building better products, an obsession with improving the future. He believes great entrepreneurs come in every personality type, every background, every education level. There isn't one formula for success, but there is one quality he sees again and again. They care deeply, painfully deeply, about what they're building. Because when you truly love the mission, working harder doesn't feel like punishment. It feels necessary.
And that's exactly why Musk believes life is too short to spend building something you don't believe in. If your work doesn't excite you, if it doesn't challenge you, if it doesn't make you curious, you'll eventually run out of energy. But when your mission becomes part of who you are, you stop chasing success. Success starts chasing you. Part 3. Fear, truth, and thinking from first principles. Look fear in the eye. Fear has stopped more dreams than failure ever has. It whispers, "You're not ready. You'll lose everything. People will think you're crazy." Most people hear those voices and walk away. Elon Musk didn't. That doesn't mean he was fearless. In fact, he has openly admitted something surprising. He feels fear, sometimes intensely. Launching rockets, betting his entire fortune, watching Tesla sit just weeks away from bankruptcy. None of that felt comfortable. None of it felt safe. But here's the difference. He never expected courage to mean the absence of fear. To him, courage means moving forward despite fear. Because if something is important enough, fear no longer gets the final vote. It simply becomes another obstacle to overcome. When everything is on the line. Starting SpaceX wasn't a calculated business decision. It was almost irrational, at least from a financial perspective. After selling PayPal, Musk could have retired for life. He had enough money to live comfortably forever. Instead, he poured nearly all of it into 3 companies: Tesla, SpaceX, SolarCity. At one point, all 3 were close to collapsing at the same time. If they failed,
He would lose almost everything, and he knew it. In fact, he estimated SpaceX had less than a 10% chance of succeeding. Think about that. Most people won't pursue opportunities with a 90% chance of success. Musk willingly pursued one with less than 10. Why? Because he believed even failure could move humanity forward. If SpaceX failed, maybe someone else would learn from it. Maybe another company would continue the mission. Even failure could create progress. That mindset completely changes the meaning of risk. The price of obsession. People often admire extraordinary success. They rarely admire the extraordinary sacrifice behind it. For years, Elon Musk wasn't simply working hard, he was surviving. 80-hour weeks became normal, then 90, sometimes 100, week after week, year after year. He has joked that he was burning the candle at both ends, then corrected himself. "Actually, I was using a flamethrower." It sounds funny until you realize he wasn't joking. The pressure was relentless. Every failed launch, every production delay, every financial crisis felt like another countdown clock. He once described leading Tesla as feeling like having a gun pointed at his head every single day. Success didn't remove the pressure, it simply replaced one impossible challenge with another. But success has a hidden cost. Most people imagine success brings peace. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it brings responsibility, expectation, stress. Musk has admitted that looking back, he wishes he had slowed down once in a while. Not because he regrets building great companies, but because he missed moments he can never get back. During the early SpaceX years, his team worked on a tiny island in the Pacific while developing the Falcon 1 rocket. The beaches were beautiful, the sunsets unforgettable, but he never stopped to enjoy them. Years later, he admitted something surprisingly human. He wishes he had taken a break, shared a drink with his team, watched the sunset. Because no matter how ambitious your mission is, life isn't only about reaching the destination, it's also about experiencing the journey. The search for truth. Most people look for confirmation. Elon Musk looks for contradiction. He doesn't ask, "Why am I right?" He asks, "What if I'm wrong?" That single habit separates scientists from believers. According to Musk, truth doesn't care about your opinions. It doesn't care about your confidence. Reality always wins. That's why he became fascinated with physics, because physics doesn't negotiate. Gravity doesn't care how badly you want to fly. A rocket doesn't care how optimistic you feel. Either the math works or it explodes. Reality is brutally honest, and that's exactly why Musk trusts it. Why most people think the wrong way. Here's something fascinating. Most of us don't actually think from scratch. We think by comparison. We copy what already exists. If everyone builds businesses one way, we assume that's the only way. If everyone says something is impossible, we rarely question it. This mental shortcut works most of the time, but it also traps innovation. Because revolutionary ideas almost never look reasonable at first, they look ridiculous until they work. That's why Musk avoids reasoning by analogy whenever possible. Instead, he asks a much deeper question. What are the fundamental truths? Everything else comes later.
The power of first principles. Imagine someone tells you electric cars can never become affordable. Most people would accept that statement because they've heard it repeated for years. Musk didn't. Instead, he broke the problem apart. What is a battery actually made of? Nickel, lithium, aluminum, carbon, steel. Now, forget the finished battery. What do the raw materials cost? When he calculated the numbers, he discovered something astonishing. The materials were far cheaper than the final product. That meant the problem wasn't physics, it was manufacturing. The assumption was wrong, and once that assumption disappeared, an entirely new future became possible. That's first principles thinking. Don't ask what everyone believes, ask what is objectively true. Then build upward from there. Question everything. This approach doesn't only apply to batteries. It applies to almost every problem you'll ever face. Whenever someone says, "That's impossible," Musk mentally translates it into a different question. What would have to change to make it possible? That tiny shift unlocks creativity. Because impossible is often just another word for "we haven't figured it out yet." History is filled with examples. Flying was impossible. Landing on the moon was impossible. Reusable rockets were impossible. Until someone questioned the assumption. Progress begins the moment we stop treating opinions like facts.
Become less wrong. One of Musk's favorite ideas is surprisingly humble. He doesn't try to become perfectly right. He tries to become less wrong. Every experiment teaches something. Every mistake removes another bad assumption. Every failure brings you one step closer to reality. That's how science works. That's how engineering works. And according to Musk, that's how life works too. Your goal isn't perfection. Your goal is continuous correction. Because people who refuse to admit they're wrong eventually stop learning. But people willing to update their beliefs never stop growing. And in a world changing faster than ever before, that may be the greatest competitive advantage of all. The greatest competitive advantage. What separates extraordinary people from everyone else? Is it talent? Intelligence? Luck? Elon Musk believes it's something much simpler. The ability to learn. Not once, not in school, but every single day. Because in a world that's changing faster than ever before, knowledge becomes outdated almost as quickly as it's created. The people who keep learning keep growing. The people who stop slowly fall behind. That's why Elon Musk has never limited himself to one field. He studies physics, engineering, artificial intelligence, history, economics, manufacturing, psychology, even rocket science. Not because someone told him to, but because curiosity became a habit, and habits shape destiny. Read like your future depends on it. Before Elon Musk built rockets, he read about them relentlessly. Books, research papers, technical manuals, anything he could find. Most people assume he hired experts because he already knew everything. The truth is almost the opposite. He became knowledgeable because he spent thousands of hours learning from people who came before him. He has often said that books were some of his greatest teachers. Every page became a shortcut. Every chapter saved years of trial and error. Think about it. The smartest minds in history have already written down their greatest discoveries, their biggest mistakes, their hardest-earned lessons. For the price of a single book, you can borrow decades of someone else's experience. That's one of the greatest investments anyone can make. Knowledge is like building blocks. Musk once compared knowledge to building a wall. You don't begin with the roof. You begin with the foundation, one brick at a time. Many people try to memorize information without understanding it, but that information quickly disappears. Real learning works differently. Every new idea connects to something you already understand. Slowly, your mental framework becomes stronger, larger, more detailed. Eventually, you stop memorizing facts. You start seeing patterns. And once you see patterns,
You begin solving problems that once felt impossible. Curiosity changes everything. Children ask hundreds of questions every week. Adults often stop asking altogether. Somewhere along the way, we become afraid of looking uninformed, afraid of asking why, afraid of challenging assumptions. Musk never lost that childlike curiosity. He constantly asks questions that sound almost too simple. Why is it done this way? Does it have to be this way? What's stopping us from doing it differently? Simple questions, extraordinary consequences. Because every major breakthrough begins with someone refusing to accept the obvious. Don't protect your ego. Here's something surprisingly rare among successful people. Musk actively looks for criticism, not because he enjoys hearing bad news, but because reality matters more than ego. He has encouraged friends, engineers, and employees to point out his mistakes, to challenge his assumptions, to prove him wrong. Why? Because hidden mistakes are expensive. Visible mistakes can be fixed. Most people defend their opinions. Great thinkers test them. If someone exposes a flaw in your thinking, that's not an attack, it's an opportunity. Because every correction makes your thinking more accurate, and accurate thinking leads to better decisions.
Engineering isn't just about machines. When people hear the word engineering, they often picture machines, factories, blueprints, complex equations. But Musk sees something much bigger. Engineering is simply the process of solving problems. Whether you're designing software, building a bridge, creating a business, or launching rockets, the principle remains the same. Find the problem, understand the constraints, design the best possible solution, then improve it, again and again and again. Progress isn't usually one giant leap. It's thousands of tiny improvements stacked together over time. The magic of iteration. People often celebrate the finished product. They rarely appreciate the countless failed versions that came before it. The first Tesla wasn't perfect. The first Falcon rocket wasn't perfect. Neither was the first reusable booster or the first Starship prototype. Many exploded. Some failed spectacularly. Millions of people watched those failures online. But Musk never viewed them as disasters. He viewed them as data. Every failed launch answered a question. Every mistake revealed a weakness. Every setback brought the next design closer to success. That's why SpaceX moves so quickly. Instead of fearing mistakes, they learn from them faster than everyone else. Because speed isn't about avoiding failure, it's about shortening the time between lessons. The people who build the future. History often remembers inventors, but inventions alone don't change the world. People do. Teams do. Engineers do. Scientists do. Builders do. Every modern convenience, from smartphones to airplanes to life-saving medicine, exists because countless people dedicated their lives to solving difficult problems. Most of them will never become famous. Most of them will never appear in history books. Yet civilization quietly depends on their work every single day. That's why Musk believes engineers deserve enormous respect. They don't just imagine the future, they build it. The responsibility of knowledge. Knowledge is powerful, but power always comes with responsibility. Artificial intelligence can transform medicine. It can also create risks humanity has never faced before. Genetic engineering can eliminate diseases. It can also raise difficult ethical questions. The same technology that improves life can also threaten it if used carelessly. That's why Musk repeatedly emphasizes one idea. Innovation without responsibility is dangerous. Progress should never be measured only by what we can build. It should also be measured by what we should build. Because every breakthrough changes the future. The question is, will it change it for the better? The mindset that never stops growing. Perhaps the greatest lesson from Elon Musk isn't about rockets or electric cars or artificial intelligence. It's about becoming someone who never stops learning. Someone who stays curious. Someone who questions assumptions.
someone who welcomes difficult problems instead of avoiding them, because the future belongs to people who are willing to understand it before everyone else does. And that journey begins with a simple decision: to remain a student for the rest of your life.
The invisible force behind human progress. Look around you for a moment. The phone in your pocket, the electricity in your home, the internet connecting billions of people, the airplanes crossing oceans every single day. None of these happened by accident. Every breakthrough began as an impossible idea inside someone's mind. Then, someone had the courage to build it. History often celebrates presidents, celebrities, and business leaders, but civilization is built by a different group of people: engineers, scientists, inventors, problem solvers. The people willing to spend years solving problems that most of us never even notice. Without them, the modern world simply wouldn't exist. Engineering is applied imagination. Most people think imagination belongs to artists, to writers, to filmmakers. But Elon Musk believes engineers are among the most creative people on Earth, because imagination without execution changes nothing. An engineer takes an impossible idea and turns it into reality. A bridge begins as a sketch. A rocket begins as a calculation. An electric vehicle begins as a question: can this be built better? The world doesn't change because someone has a dream. It changes because someone refuses to stop working until that dream becomes real. That's what engineering truly is: applied imagination. Technology has always moved humanity forward. Every era of history has been defined by technology. The wheel changed transportation. The printing press changed knowledge. Electricity transformed everyday life. The internet connected the planet. Artificial intelligence may redefine what comes next. Every generation inherits tools that the previous generation could barely imagine, and each new breakthrough creates opportunities that once seemed impossible. But here's what makes this fascinating. Technology itself isn't good or bad. It's neutral. Its impact depends entirely on the people using it. The same internet that allows a child to learn from the world's greatest teachers can also spread misinformation. Artificial intelligence can help doctors detect diseases earlier than ever before, or it can be used irresponsibly. Technology magnifies human intent, which means our values matter just as much as our inventions.
The danger of standing still. Throughout history, entire civilizations disappeared because they stopped adapting. They became comfortable, confident, certain the future would look exactly like the present. Then the world changed, and they didn't. Businesses fail for the same reason. Industries disappear. Entire careers become obsolete, not because people aren't intelligent, but because they stop learning. They stop evolving. Musk believes continuous improvement isn't optional, it's survival. Every product can improve, every system can improve, every person can improve. The moment you believe you've learned enough, you've already begun falling behind. Speed is a superpower. One of the biggest reasons SpaceX advanced so quickly wasn't unlimited funding. It wasn't perfect planning either. It was speed. The company learned faster than its competitors. While others spent years trying to avoid mistakes, SpaceX built, tested, failed, improved, then repeated the cycle again and again. Every failure shortened the path toward success, because feedback is one of the most valuable resources in the world. The faster you receive it, the faster you grow. Waiting for perfection often creates something far worse: stagnation. Don't be afraid to look stupid. Innovation has an uncomfortable side effect. At first, it usually looks ridiculous. People laughed at reusable rockets. They mocked electric vehicles. Many experts believed private companies would never compete in space. Yet one impossible idea after another slowly became reality. Why? because progress rarely asks for permission. If you're waiting until everyone agrees with your vision, you're probably already too late. Every major breakthrough begins with someone willing to risk embarrassment, someone willing to hear, "That will never work," and keep building anyway. The power of small improvements. People often wait for one massive breakthrough to change everything. Reality works differently. Most progress comes from tiny improvements repeated thousands of times. A lighter material, a better battery, faster software, a more efficient manufacturing process. Each improvement seems insignificant on its own. Together, they transform industries. That's why Musk encourages constant iteration. Never become attached to the current version, because no matter how good something is, it can almost always become better. The companies that understand this keep leading. The ones that don't eventually disappear.
The future belongs to builders. It's easy to criticize the future. It's much harder to create it. Every generation has people who complain about change, and a smaller group who make change happen. Musk has always tried to belong to the second group, not because it's easier, but because it's necessary. He believes civilization advances when enough people decide to solve meaningful problems instead of simply discussing them. The future isn't created by spectators, it's created by builders. People willing to risk failure, people willing to think differently, people willing to spend years creating something that may not succeed simply because they believe it's worth trying. The real legacy. At the end of our lives, few people will remember how many meetings we attended, or how many emails we answered, or how much money sat in our bank accounts. They'll remember what we built, what we improved, what we contributed, whether we made life a little easier for the people who came after us. That's the kind of legacy Elon Musk talks about. Not fame, not wealth, impact. Because when history looks back, it rarely asks who made the most money. It asks a far more important question: who changed the future? Part 6. Execution is everything. Ideas or cheat? People love talking about great ideas. The next billion-dollar startup, the next revolutionary invention, the next company that will change the world. But Elon Musk has never been impressed by ideas alone. Because ideas are everywhere, execution is rare. Every year, millions of people say, "I have an amazing business idea," but only a tiny fraction ever build it, and an even smaller number keep going when things get difficult. That's the real difference. The world doesn't reward ideas, it rewards execution. So why do so many great ideas never become reality? It's usually not because they're impossible, it's because people wait. They wait until they know everything, until they have enough money, until the timing feels perfect, until someone gives them permission. But perfection is a moving target. If you keep waiting for the perfect moment, you'll spend your life watching someone else build your dream. Musk believes action creates clarity, not the other way around. You don't learn by thinking forever, you learn by building.
Fail fast, learn faster. One of SpaceX's biggest advantages wasn't that it avoided failure, it was that it embraced it. Every failed rocket answered a question. Every explosion revealed a weakness. Every setback became a lesson for the next launch. Most organizations fear failure so much that they stop experimenting. SpaceX did the opposite. Build, test, fail, improve, repeat, again and again, because every iteration brought them closer to success. Failure wasn't the opposite of progress, it was part of the process. The factory is the real product. Here's an idea that surprised even many of Musk's own engineers. He once said, "The machine that builds the machine is more important than the machine itself." Think about that. Anyone can build one great product. The real challenge is building millions of them, consistently, efficiently, at high quality. That's why Musk became obsessed with manufacturing.
Not because factories are exciting, but because factories determine whether great ideas can actually reach the world. A prototype proves something is possible. Manufacturing proves it's practical. Why scaling is harder than inventing. Creating the first version of a product is difficult. Creating the millionth version without sacrificing quality, that's where real companies are built. Many startups fail because they focus only on invention. They forget about production, supply chains, logistics, automation, quality control. Those invisible systems determine whether an idea changes the world or remains just another prototype. Innovation doesn't end when the product works. In many ways, that's where the hardest work begins.
Remove what doesn't matter. Musk is famous for asking a simple question during engineering meetings. Why does this part exist? If nobody can give a good answer, remove it. Too many companies make products more complicated every year. More features, more buttons, more processes, more meetings. But complexity often hides inefficiency. Real innovation isn't always adding something new. Sometimes it's removing everything unnecessary. Simplify. Then simplify again. The best solutions often look obvious only after someone discovers them. Speed without quality is useless. Many businesses obsess over moving faster, but speed alone isn't enough. If you're moving quickly in the wrong direction, you're simply making mistakes faster. That's why Musk believes priorities matter. First, make the right thing. Then, make it better. Then, make it faster. Skipping those steps creates expensive problems later. Quality should never become the price of speed. The goal isn't to move fast, the goal is to improve fast. Great teams build great companies. People often credit one person for a company's success, but no great company is built alone. Behind every successful rocket launch, there are thousands of engineers, designers, technicians, scientists, manufacturing specialists, problem solvers. Musk has repeatedly said he looks for people who genuinely care about solving problems, not people chasing titles or prestige or comfort. The best teams aren't filled with people who always agree. They're filled with people who challenge each other while sharing the same mission. Because strong ideas survive criticism, weak ideas don't. And that's exactly how progress happens.
Focus is a competitive advantage. Every day, the world competes for your attention. Notifications, emails, meetings, social media, endless distractions. Musk has often said that one of the hardest parts of leadership is deciding what not to do, because every yes is also a no to something else. Extraordinary results require extraordinary focus, not for a few hours, but for years. The companies that change the world usually aren't doing 100 things well. They're doing a handful of important things exceptionally well. Focus creates momentum. Momentum creates progress, and progress compounds over time. The difference between dreamers and builders. Everyone dreams about a better future. Builders wake up early and start creating it. Dreamers wait for inspiration. Builders create systems. Dreamers talk about possibilities. Builders solve problems. Dreamers imagine success. Builders earn it one difficult day at a time. That's why Elon Musk believes the future doesn't belong to people with the biggest dreams. It belongs to those willing to do the difficult work that dreams require. Because at the end of the day, ideas inspire people, but execution changes the world.